Tired of doom scrolling? Time for a dose of awesome. 5 Good News Stories is your happy place, where underdogs become champions, crossing guards become legends, and impossible dreams come true. We're serving up 5 fresh reasons to believe in humanity. From world records to cute animal stories, to that guy who turned his pizza shop into a homeless shelter. These are the stories that'll make you go, wait, what? That's amazing! Ready for your good news fix? Follow 5 Good News Stories wherever you get your podcasts, because let's face it, we could all use more awesome in our lives. The number 5 Good News Stories.
It is the world's most secretive election. When a pope dies, ancient traditions begin. A silver hammer, a destroyed ring, over 100 cardinals locked away from the world, choosing the next leader of 1 billion faithful. White smoke. The path to a new pope, from Calaroga Shark Media, wherever you get your podcasts.
Calaroga Shark Media.
Hi there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Vulture had a big piece about the state of Netflix comedy in 2025. They interviewed Robbie Praw, who oversees Netflix comedy. I worked with Robbie in everything back at Sirius Now, 15 plus years ago, back when we used to do stuff with Just for Laughs. Got to know Robbie a little bit. They opened up with Mulaney, and this article came out before Mulaney's show debuted last week, so they were talking about Everybody's in L.A. from last year. It turned out the audience for L.A. wasn't huge, writes Vulture, an average of 1.1 million views an episode. What made you do the show anyway? Robbie said, well, there's only one John Mulaney. He's such a singular artist that when presented with the opportunity to do this with him, like you said, it was a no-brainer. That number seems low, and maybe that explains why when I was watching it live Wednesday night, there wasn't really all that much buzz on social media about it. Interesting. Good follow-up. Is it really more about gut and taking a chance on talent? And I'm a big believer in taking a chance on talent, absolutely. Robbie said, if you look, John Mulaney is not only one of the most viewed stand-ups on Netflix, he's one of the top ticket-selling stand-ups in the world. So we have a lot of confidence that the new show we're doing, Everybody's Live, is going to break through. These types of shows have always grown over time. And look, there's nobody like John out there. If you watched SNL 50 with 50 years of some of the biggest stars in comedy, John Mulaney stood out in that room and on that show. So we have a lot of confidence in him and in this new show. That's not crazy. How soon after L.A. did you start talking to Mulaney about doing more? Robbie, I don't want to use his words since I don't remember what they were exactly, but John had a lot of fun with the fact that there were no stakes in Everybody's in L.A. because he couldn't be renewed. But he came to this honestly. What we did last May wasn't a pilot. It was truly being done as a 6-day show, and then he was so great and so natural in the seat, I think we started the conversations pretty much immediately to see if he'd be interested. Then they got into how Mulaney is a collaborator on the show. Again, this is on Vulture. You should read it. New topic. Vulture. Netflix has done weekly talk shows and talk-adjacent shows with everybody from Chelsea Handler, Joel McHale, Norm, Michelle Wolf. Other than Letterman's project, they didn't really stick. If this one works, we make a lot more talk shows again. Robbie said, it's not something we're focused on. I mean, this show, we weren't looking for a show like this. This show exists because we had an opportunity to work with John Mulaney. And we think there are things you could do live that are just really, really exciting for the viewer. We're definitely going to be looking at doing some things live when they make sense, but it's not necessarily a concentration. Vulture, what about a live sketch show? Now, Bill Simmons talked about this. Bill floated a theory that Netflix is waiting for Lorne Michaels to step down, at which point SNL would be theoretically vulnerable. Simmons also suggested that the SNL calendar leaves a lot on the table, specifically in the election cycle when the big conventions are happening and all the fun stuff is happening. SNL is dark. Maybe Netflix does something in the summer, which I think would make a lot of sense strategically. I don't have any insight into Netflix viewing patterns and which months are more or less popular. I do notice they tend to drop a lot of big shiny things around holiday weekends. Robbie said, I think down the line would be open to it. Down the line. Simmons may be right there. You're bringing up SNL in 50 years as some of the best TV of all time. I'm sure we'd love to one day be in that business, but no plans for it at this point. That's a pretty clear answer. Great question by Vulture. Does having that big library of stand-up specials have an impact on how much you greenlight now? You don't need as much as you did early on when you were starting from zero. Great question. Robbie said, it hasn't affected our volume at all. What it has done, it's given more of a journey to when people discover the new favorite comedian on Netflix to be able to see more from that comedian or similar comedians. A recent example of that is Nate Bargatze. Or Moa Mayer just released his comedy series last month, and you're seeing more viewing on his old specials. Another great question by Vulture. Nice job, Vulture. You used to make headlines for paying crazy sums of money to comics for their future specials. I'm sure you're still writing big checks, but you're trying to spend less on stand-up. Robbie said, I don't think it's that different. We've always bought shows that have been produced and put on Netflix. I mean, for example, Chappelle's first specials with us were produced before we purchased them. We're just looking for the best specials out there for our members, and people have such different tastes that sometimes, quite frankly, it's really a great opportunity where you see something that's pre-produced because you get a sense of exactly what the creative lens is. But I don't think the strategy has changed. It's still about trying to find the best things out there, whether we do a deal in advance or whether it's licensed. Vulture brought up Bert Kreischer, saying he seems to be everywhere on Netflix. Does having talent all over the service help them attract talent? Great question. Robbie said, it's probably the thing I'm the most excited about. I mean, Netflix is obviously a really big company, and all the buyers across film and nonfiction and series. We talk a lot about this with talent. You mentioned Bert Kreischer. Bert was just all over the NFL Christmas game. We talked about Mulaney. We have a sketch show coming out with Tom Segura, and season 2 of Michelle Buteau's Survival of the Thickest. And this is the way we've thought about things since we started in the space with people like Aziz and Ali Wong. I know that was the serious model. It was a great way to attract talent because you could come up and say to anyone from Bruce Springsteen to a NASCAR driver or, a comedian, hey, come on up, and you can go on the country station, the rock station, the comedy station, the sports station, and hit all these different audiences. And they could do like a big media tour just walking down one hallway at Sirius, come up for 3 hours, and you could hit 8 different audiences. It's one of the reasons we were able to get so many people. Vulture asked about the competitors, Amazon, HBO, Hilarious. Hi, Publicist. How you guys doing? Hulu even did a deal with Bill Burr, who's been a regular on Netflix. How much of a threat to your dominance are these other players? Vulture, you crushed this interview. Robbie said, I think the eyeballs that come to Netflix to watch stand-up and the deep bench of library titles that we have in our festivals and radio stations and all that make it pretty clear we're invested in the space and are very proud to have had this leading role in the comedy business. But the truth is, it's very good for the stand-up business that there are other buyers in the space. I mean, first and foremost, we're huge stand-up fans. Boy, this is a nice, polished answer, Robbie. Good job. So all these great comedians having homes is great. Oftentimes, different comedians go to different places, like Nate Bargatze. He went to Amazon, then came back to Netflix. We think the fact that competition is out there is a great thing and just shows how big a business stand-up has become. Vulture again, good question. Was there a bidding war for Burr's special? And was Netflix interested? And is it something Netflix was interested and went after? Robbie said, I mean, Bill's one of the best stand-up comedians of all time. We've had a lot of business with him. So yeah, there's definitely interest in that. We look forward to working with him again down the line. Vulture, one person you said you have no plans to work with again is Louis C.K. But last fall, you bought a special he directed from Adrian Appalucci. I know that's not the same as doing a deal directly with him, but has something changed? Sounds like Robbie was ready for this one. Adrian is such a hilarious comic that our team's been tracking for a really long time, so we're thrilled to put out that special, but there are no plans to work with Louis at this point. Yeah. Is there going to be a Netflix comedy festival at 26? Robbie said, I have nothing to talk about right now, but we love a big comedy festival at Netflix and more news to come. Vulture poked him in the ribs and said, so you just confirmed it. And Robbie said, I understood the nature of your backdoor question, and I appreciated it. Nice job, Vulture people. Deadline spoke to Amy Gravitt, who is HBO's head of comedy. She says, I have full support inside the comedy to continue to keep the HBO comedy brand thriving. This is a broader interview, not just stand-up. She spoke a little bit about Untitled Steve Carell comedy. That's about to start production. It centers on Steve Carell's character, who's an author. That character's complicated relationship with his daughter. We're told the character gives some crazy, stupid love vibes, which is a 2011 movie Steve Carell starred in. Amy said, I've always wanted to do a show set in a college environment, and adding Steve at the center of it as a way into that world as a character who's exploring college experience for the first time later in life really felt like the way for us to do it. And of course, working with Bill Lawrence has been a really fantastic partnership. A lot of pedigree there. And could Curb Your Enthusiasm come back? She says, Larry David has not spoken to HBO about doing another season, but she'd love it. We've been chatting. It seems like he's got some good ideas for me. Grab your phone. It's time for March college basketball. You know how that rolls. Yeah, I'm working from home. Yeah, I'm totally not watching the games. I'm totally working. Nothing beats March basketball. Bring the fun of a bracket to every game day by making entries on Underdog. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play it now in your state. Do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? You can with Underdog. Who do you go for? Do you like the favorites, or do you like riding, no pun, one of those underdogs? You know, a 16, that's always fun. And it's always fun to have some extra interest in the game. Pick a player and go higher or lower on one of their stats, including points, assists, rebounds, and more. Underdog has all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. You can create entries with all basketball selections or mix and match across other sports. You can play with as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn $1 into $1,000 just with your hoops knowledge. You've heard me talk about this. I'm in the comfy chair. I've got my phone. I'll put on a game. I pick a player. I go higher or lower. I think for basketball, I'm kind of a lower guy. Download the Underdog app and sign up now using the promo code DCN to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus credits when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with promo code DCN. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus credits instantly upon first deposit. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus, Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus, Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Void where prohibited. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Underdog app, promo code DCN. The Great Outdoors Comedy Festival announced that Jim Gaffigan not coming. He's, quotes, unavailable to perform at the 3-day event, July 18th through the 20th. I wonder what has changed on Jim's schedule. They subbed somebody in for Jim Gaffigan, now performing Martin Short, who will co-headline alongside John Mulaney on Sunday, July 20th. They also announced Short will replace Jim Gaffigan at the Winnipeg Festival on July 18th. Veered Oz told Yahoo Canada, you know, comedy is always sort of countercultural. Trump brought a different kind of comedy into the mainstream, and I think that will make more nuanced voices counterculture, and I think that will make more thoughtful voices counterculture. So I actually think what's happening with that will be very good for comedians. What I do know is your content can become controversial, but controversy should never become your content. Smart. He says you can't predict what will go viral, and if you try to second guess that as an artist, you'll drive yourself insane. Your best bet is just to have it and go at it, and then deal with it when they're upset. I don't think there's any predicting what makes people upset. Russell Martin is starting a U.S. tour today at the House of Blues in Dallas. He told the Dallas Observer, the thing about gigging internationally is it gives you more strings to your bow because you've got street-level knowledge of what it feels like in Holland, Denmark, Auckland, Wellington, whatever it might be. You're not getting material from the internet or your country. Traveling as a comedian gives you more spices to add to your comedy casserole. He declared himself the king of adapting to different crowds and comedy styles, conceding that American humor can be a difficult bridge to cross for some British acts. He explains, American audiences have such a reputation as being big fat laughers. The big difference between U.S. and British comedy is that maybe we're a bit less high status, can take the seriousness. It's a word that's a little vulgar in the States, not so vulgar in Britain. One of those words starts with a P, rhymes with hiss, out of ourselves in a way that doesn't happen, broadly speaking, as much as in the U.S. That self-deprecating humor is a big part of being British. He believes the only way to test new materials is to show up unannounced at smaller venues. If people are already fans, they have a vested interest. There's no point in getting rid of that and being sadistic and going out of your way to perform to people and make it hard for yourself. There's a useful amount of duress when you're creating new stuff. If you just do it in front of your fans, it makes you a wee bit narrow. He's taking advantage of the U.S. comedy club scene. I figure out what works and what doesn't, and what needs changing. Otherwise, you're leaving it to chance. It's a real kick in the ego teeth sometimes to rock up a comedy club in New York. We had just done 10 nights at the Royal Albert Hall and broken the record. And then we were in a comedy club in New York and there's 60 people there and you're dying thinking, oh, F, this worked a week ago. But that's the process, man. You just got to do it in order to make the shows great. I would rather go to a comedy club and try out new jokes than go to a red carpet event, unless it was a film I wanted to watch. If you're just going to be photographed to be in the Daily Mail, I couldn't think of anything worse. And happy St. Patrick's Day. Let's catch up with Enya Martin, the Irish Times did. She explains she was named after the singer, Enya, but I honestly never heard her played once in the house ever, so I don't know if that was a spur-of-the-moment thing, but thank God my parents didn't like Meatloaf, because I would have been a target for bullying at school. She says, I love the Irish sense of humor. You could say something so offensive to someone Irish and they'll just laugh it off. They'll know you're not serious. I think I get my madness from my mother. She's not shy at all. I would say if she were born in this generation and she had the freedom I did, I definitely think she'd be in this industry and she'd be great at it as well. I would say the highlight of my previous year was being able to buy my own car. It was my third car. but being able to buy my dream car was a symbol of how far I've come and how hard I've worked. When I was coming home from the U.S. recently, I asked at the desk how much it was to upgrade to premium economy. She told me, and I was like, yeah, I'll upgrade. Doing things like that when I grew up in a working class area, I thought there's not much I'm going to amount to. I'm probably just going to have a great job like everyone else. It's something I thought I'd never be able to do. But now that I've broken in the UK, I try not to play the comparison game. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. Good advice. If you want to go see her, she's at TF Royal Castle Bar on the 21st. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and that's your comedy news for today. See you tomorrow.
It is the world's most secretive election. When a pope dies, ancient traditions begin. A silver hammer, a destroyed ring, over 100 cardinals locked away from the world, choosing the next leader of 1 billion faithful. White smoke. The path to a new pope. From Calaroga Shark Media, wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're fascinated by UFOs, aliens, ghosts, demons, cryptid creatures like Bigfoot, Chupacabra, and Mothman, then I have the show for you. The Paranormal 60 with Dave Schrader. Each week, we investigate different claims of the supernatural and try to shed light into the darkness, bringing you the top guests and experts from around the world. Enter the fray. Then join me, Dave Schrader, your host, as we investigate all aspects and claims of the supernatural and paranormal. Listen on all of your favorite podcast platforms: Good Pods, TuneIn, Pocket Casts, Deezer, Player FM, Amazon Music, Audible, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. The answers to life's biggest questions and miracles and mysteries awaits you. So join me each week, 2 brand new episodes of the best in paranormal podcasting, The Paranormal 60 with Dave Schrader.